You know that moment when your entire world shatters? When everything you believed in, your marriage, your friendship, your life, just explodes? Yeah, I lived through that. My name is Michael Anderson, and I'm 35 years old. November 22nd changed everything. I'd been deployed overseas for 8 months, counting down every single day until I could hold my wife Claire again. We'd been married for 15 years. 15 years of building a life together, of raising our daughter Angelica, who was 13 at the time. I thought I had it all figured out. Dustin McGraw had been my best friend since we were 16 years old. He stood beside me at my wedding. He was Angelica's godfather. When I deployed, I asked him to watch over my family. I came home early on Thanksgiving Day with flowers and wine, ready to surprise Claire. Instead, I found her naked in our bed with him. The rage I felt could have leveled a city, but I didn't let it break me. I let it fuel me. But let me start from the beginning. Before I go any further, let me know in the comments where in the world you are watching from, and make sure to subscribe because tomorrow I will share a story you don't want to miss. 18 hours on the road does something to your mind. You start rehearsing moments that haven't happened yet, imagining the look on your wife's face when you walk through the door 2 weeks early. I'd done that for the last 300 miles, pictured Claire's eyes lighting up, her running into my arms, maybe crying a little because she'd missed me so much. I stopped at a florist outside Richmond, picked up her favorite white roses, then the wine shop for that Pinot Grigio she loved. Even grabbed those expensive Belgian chocolates from the specialty store because why not? I was coming home for Thanksgiving. I wanted everything to be perfect. The driveway came into view at 10:47 a.m. I remember checking my watch, smiling because I was making better time than I'd planned. Then I saw Dustin's truck parked out front. Weird, but not alarming. He'd been helping Claire with house stuff while I was gone, fixing the fence, checking the furnace, all that. Made sense he'd be here for Thanksgiving prep. Maybe they were prepping the turkey together. I grabbed my duffel, the flowers, the wine, the chocolates. Used my key because I wanted to surprise her. The door swung open silently. The house was silent. Too silent. No cooking smells, no oven heat. No sound of football on TV or Claire humming while she worked in the kitchen like she always did on holidays. Nothing. Then I heard it. Laughter from upstairs. Claire's laugh. That intimate, throaty sound she used to make with me after we'd made love. That private laugh that meant everything was right in the world. My stomach dropped. I knew. Somehow, in that moment, I already knew. But you have to see it, right? You have to confirm the nightmare before your brain will accept it's real. I climbed those stairs like I was walking through concrete. Each step took a year. The flowers felt heavy in my hand. Our bedroom door was cracked open maybe 3 inches. And there they were, Claire and Dustin, naked, tangled up in the anniversary sheets I'd bought her last year, the expensive ones with the high thread count she'd loved so much, in our bed. I stood there for maybe 5 seconds, just absorbing it. The full scope of the betrayal. Then I slammed the door open so hard it bounced off the wall. "What the fuck is this?" Claire screamed, jerking the sheets up to her chest. Dustin scrambled backward like a roach when you turn on the lights, eyes wide, mouth open. Nobody moved. The shock on their faces would have been funny if I wasn't burning from the inside out. "Michael," Claire's voice was barely a whisper. "You're not supposed to be home?" "Yeah, I can see that." My voice came out like ice. "How long?" "Michael, listen," Dustin started, reaching for his boxers on the floor. "How long?" Claire's face crumbled. Tears started streaming. 6 months. "Michael, please." 6 months? The words tasted like acid. "I've been deployed for 8. So you waited what? 2 months after I left to fuck my best friend?" "It just happened," she sobbed. "We didn't mean to?" I laughed, and it was an ugly sound. "You didn't accidentally trip and fall on his dick, Claire. You made a choice. Multiple choices. Every single day for 6 months, you looked at our daughter, you read my emails, you cashed my paychecks, and you chose this." Dustin finally got his pants on. "Mike, man, let's just talk about this. Don't you dare call me man. Don't you dare pretend we're still friends." I stepped toward him, and he actually backed up. "I trusted you. I asked you to watch over my family. My family, Dustin." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" "Explain to me how fucking my wife while I'm serving overseas is anything other than the most pathetic, cowardly betrayal imaginable. Claire was crying harder now, mascara running down her face. Michael, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Does Angelica know? Her face went white. No, God, no. Good, because she's the only innocent person in this house. I looked between them. Here's what's going to happen. Dustin, get the fuck out of my house. You've got 5 minutes before I call the cops and report an intruder. Michael, he tried. 4 minutes and 50 seconds. He grabbed his clothes and ran, literally ran down the stairs and out the door. I heard his truck peel out. Then I turned back to Claire. She was still in bed, wrapped in our sheets, looking like a stranger. I want a divorce. Please, can we just talk? There's nothing to talk about. You destroyed our marriage. I'll be filing tomorrow. And Claire? I stepped closer. I'm taking everything. The house, custody of Angelica, all of it. You think I won't? I've got friends in the Judge Advocate General's office. I've got documentation of every penny I've earned, every sacrifice I've made. What do you have? A nursing degree and an affair. You can't take Angelica from me. Watch me. I'm a decorated serviceman with a spotless record. You're an adulteress who betrayed her husband while he served his country. How do you think that plays in court? I pulled out my phone and started taking pictures. The rumpled bed, her clothes mixed with his on the floor, everything. She shrieked. What are you doing? Protecting myself, protecting our daughter from your poor judgment. I pocketed the phone. I'm going to Angelica's soccer game. She's expecting me home tonight anyway. I'll tell her then. You stay here and think about what you've done. And Claire, if you try to spin this, if you try to make me the bad guy, I will bury you so deep you'll never see daylight again. I walked out of that room, out of that house, and I didn't look back. But sitting in my car, hands shaking, heart racing, I realized the nightmare was just beginning. Because Dustin wasn't just my best friend. He was my business partner. We co-owned a security consulting firm that had just landed a major government contract. And Claire? Her name was on half our assets, our bank accounts, our retirement funds. This wasn't just about a marriage ending. This was about untangling my entire life from two people who'd just proven they couldn't be trusted. I sat in my car at the edge of the soccer field parking lot, gripping the steering wheel hard enough that my knuckles went white. 20 minutes. That's how long I'd been sitting there, forcing my breathing to slow, my hands to stop shaking. I watched Angelica through the chain-link fence. Her ponytail flew behind her as she sprinted down the field, and then, God, she was good. She faked left, cut right, and drove the ball past the goalkeeper into the net. Her team erupted. She threw her arms up, grinning, and my heart cracked right down the middle. How was I supposed to tell her? How do you explain to a 13-year-old that her family just imploded, that her godfather betrayed her father? That Thanksgiving dinner was canceled because everything she knew was a lie? The referee's whistle blew. Game over. Angelica's team had won. I got out of the car and walked toward the field, plastering on a smile I didn't feel. Dad! She spotted me and ran, ponytail bouncing. You're home! I caught her in a hug and held on too long. She felt so small in my arms, so innocent. Surprise, sweetheart. She pulled back, beaming. Where's Mom? Is she making the turkey? My stomach twisted. About that? How about we get some ice cream first? Just you and me? Her smile faltered. Kids are smart. They know when something's wrong. Okay. The ice cream parlor was nearly empty. Thanksgiving afternoon, most people were home with their families. I picked a corner booth, away from the few other customers. Angelica ordered mint chocolate chip. I got coffee. Couldn't stomach anything else. She watched me, waiting, her spoon hovering over her ice cream. I took a breath. Sweetheart, Mom and I are separating. The spoon clattered against the bowl. What? It's not your fault. I need you to understand that first. This has nothing to do with you. You didn't cause this, and you can't fix it. Tears welled up in her eyes. But why? What happened? Sometimes adults make choices that hurt each other. Choices that can't be undone. I reached across and took her hand. Your mom and I both love you. That will never change. You won't have to choose between us. Did you fight? Her voice was so small. No, nothing like that. I couldn't tell her the truth. Not all of it. Not yet. But I can't stay married to her anymore, and that means things are going to change for a while. We're going to stay in a hotel tonight, just until I figure out the next steps. Can't we just go home? Not tonight. She started crying for real then. Not loud sobs, just quiet tears streaming down her cheeks. Is this forever? Are you getting divorced? Yes, sweetheart, we are. What about Thanksgiving? What about... She stopped, like the full reality was hitting her all at once. Everything's different now, isn't it? I squeezed her hand. Some things are, but I promise you, I will fight to keep your life as normal as possible. You'll stay in your school, keep playing soccer, see your friends. I'm going to make sure you're okay. She wiped her eyes with her napkin. What about Mom? Will I still see her? Of course. We'll work that out. She asked more questions I couldn't fully answer. How long had I known? Where would we live? Would she have to move? I gave her what I could, honest but incomplete, enough truth to respect her intelligence without destroying her faith in everyone. By the time we checked into the hotel, she was exhausted. I got us a room with 2 double beds and she curled up with her phone, texting friends, trying to process. I sat by the window and made the calls I'd been dreading. Dad, it's me. Gabriel Anderson, retired Marine, 26 years of service, my hero, listened silently as I told him everything. The early return, the discovery, the affair, all of it. When I finished, there was a long pause. Then, what do you need? Not, are you okay? Not, I'm sorry. Just straight to tactics. That's who he was. I need to win. Custody, the business, everything. You will. You've got the evidence, you've got the moral high ground, and you've got the record. File fast, file hard, and don't give them room to spin this. He paused. How's Angelica? Crying in the next room. Your mother and I can fly out tomorrow. I might need that. He grunted. You need anything else, you call. Day or night. Mom got on the line next. She cried, asked if I was eating, if Angelica was okay, if there was anything she could do. I'm coming out there, Michael. You shouldn't have to handle this alone. I'll let you know. Right now, I just need to get through the next few days. I love you, sweetheart. Love you too, Mom. Next call, Thomas Whitlock. Mike, happy Thanksgiving, man. What's going... I need a divorce attorney. Are you still practicing family law? Silence. Then, cautious. Yeah. What happened? I told him. Sent him the photos, the deployment records, the bank statements. Found text messages on the home computer that went back even further than Claire admitted. Planning, logistics, proof of intent. Thomas took 10 minutes to review everything. When he came back on the line, his voice was cold. This is airtight. Adultery, abandonment of marriage during active deployment, violation of trust with a minor child in the home. You're going to get everything you're asking for. What about McGraw being my business partner? That complicates things. Partnership dissolution isn't my area, but I know someone who specializes in it. Vicky Hernandez. She's a bulldog. If you want McGraw out of your business, she'll make it happen. Set up a meeting. Monday morning. Done. Mike, I'm sorry, man. You didn't deserve this. No, I said. I didn't. But they're going to pay for it. I hung up and stared at my phone. Claire had called 6 times, left voicemails begging to talk, to explain, to fix this. I deleted them all without listening. Then I lay back on the hotel bed, listening to Angelica's breathing in the next bed, and realized the full scope of what I was about to do. Divorce, custody battle, business dissolution, asset protection. This wasn't just one fight. This was war on 4 fronts, and I was going to win every single one. Monday morning, I sat in Vicky Hernandez's conference room watching her spread the partnership agreement across the polished table. The document looked innocent enough. 20 pages of legal language Dustin and I had signed 6 years ago when we'd started the security consulting firm. Vicky tapped a section with her pen. Your partner committed actionable fraud. I leaned forward. Explain. Dustin was in a fiduciary relationship with you, legally obligated to act in your best interests, to disclose conflicts, to maintain loyalty. While holding that duty, he engaged in a 6-month affair with your wife. She looked up, and her eyes were sharp. That's not just betrayal, Michael. That's a massive conflict of interest. Any judge will see this as grounds for immediate dissolution with you retaining primary ownership. What about the government contract? We just landed a 5-year security consulting deal worth millions. It was both our names on the proposal. The contract stays with whoever has majority control when this is done. If we play this right, that's you. She set down her pen. How badly do you want to destroy him? I didn't hesitate. Completely. Vicky smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. Good. Because Dustin McGraw is about to lose everything. his business ownership, his income, his professional reputation, his entire future in the security industry. When I'm done, he won't be able to get a job as a mall security guard. Do it. The next week moved like a military operation. Thomas filed the divorce papers on Tuesday, adultery as grounds, full custody of Angelica, supervised visitation only for Claire. His argument was brutal. Claire's affair with her daughter's godfather demonstrated such catastrophically poor judgment and moral character that she was unsuitable for primary custody. Wednesday, Vicky filed for emergency dissolution of the business partnership. The filing explicitly cited Dustin's breach of fiduciary duty and conflict of interest. She requested full financial discovery and asked the court to freeze all business accounts until the matter was resolved. Thursday, I filed for a restraining order, claimed I felt threatened by Dustin's betrayal, that I couldn't trust him not to sabotage our business out of guilt or revenge. It wasn't entirely a lie. I didn't trust him with anything anymore. Claire tried calling, texting. She showed up at my hotel twice. I documented everything, every call, every message, every violation of the space I demanded, and forwarded it all to Thomas. "This is perfect," he said. "She's proving she can't respect boundaries. Makes our custody case even stronger." Dustin lawyered up fast, hired some slick corporate guy named Riley Parker who wore expensive suits and thought intimidation was a legal strategy. He tried it at our first hearing, stood up in front of the judge and suggested I was acting out of spite, that the business partnership had nothing to do with my marriage, that Dustin's personal life shouldn't affect his professional standing. Vicky ate him alive. "Your Honor, the respondent engaged in a 6-month sexual relationship with my client's wife while my client served overseas defending this country. During that time, the respondent held fiduciary duties to my client through their business partnership. He violated every ethical standard, every professional obligation, every measure of basic human decency. This isn't spite. This is consequence." The judge, a woman in her 50s who'd probably seen every excuse in the book, looked at Riley like he'd tracked mud on her carpet. She granted my restraining order. Froze Dustin out of all business operations pending investigation. Riley's face went white. The government contract office launched their own investigation. They had to. This was a security consulting firm with access to sensitive information, and one partner had just been accused of massive ethical violations. They interviewed me first, reviewed my service record, my commendations, my spotless reviews. Asked about the business, about our practices, about Dustin's role. I was honest. Told them Dustin sometimes cut corners I'd chalked up to efficiency. Nothing illegal, just sloppy, prioritizing speed over thoroughness. They interviewed Dustin next. I wasn't there, but Thomas heard from someone in the office that it didn't go well. Dustin was defensive, combative, kept trying to separate his personal life from his professional conduct. Then the investigators learned about the affair, about Dustin sleeping with a deployed serviceman's wife, about the betrayal of trust while I was overseas. The lead investigator, a retired Army colonel named Marcus Brennan, was disgusted, called it the worst breach of honor he'd encountered in his career. Friday afternoon, I got the notification. The government contract would remain with my company. Dustin McGraw was permanently removed from all government-related projects. I read the email 3 times. Then I forwarded it to Vicky. She called within minutes. "That's it. His career in security consulting is over. No firm will touch him after this." I sat back in my hotel chair and felt something cold settle in my chest. Not satisfaction exactly, more like confirmation. Dustin had made his choice, and now he was paying for it. "What's next?" I asked. "My forensic accountant starts auditing the business finances tomorrow. Full deep dive. If there's anything else he's been hiding, we'll find it." Something in her tone made me pause. "You think there's more?" "There's always more, Michael. Men who betray trust in one area rarely stop there." Vicky called me Tuesday morning, 3 days after the accountant started the audit. "We found it," she said. No greeting, no small talk. "Dustin's been stealing from you." My grip tightened on the phone. "How much?" "Over $120,000. Systematic theft over 2 years." I felt my jaw clench. "Tell me everything." She walked me through it. Unauthorized loans Dustin took without my knowledge. Small amounts, $5,000 here, $3,000 there, always documented as business expenses. Inflated expense reports for client meetings that never happened. Diverted funds redirected to personal accounts through shell vendor invoices. "He was careful," Vicky said. Each individual theft was small enough to avoid triggering flags in your accounting system. But when you add them up, $120,000, I said quietly, while I was deployed, while I trusted him. Michael, this isn't a civil matter. This is criminal embezzlement, federal charges, especially given it's a veteran-owned business with government contracts. She paused. I need your permission to file. I didn't hesitate. File immediately. The federal prosecutors will love this case. Military angle, government contracts, betrayal of a deployed serviceman. Then give it to them, I said. I want him in prison. The custody hearing happened 2 weeks later. Claire's attorney, a woman named Patricia Forrester, who wore pearl earrings and spoke in soothing tones, tried a new strategy. She stood before the judge and painted me as vengeful and unstable. Your Honor, Mr. Anderson has launched a coordinated legal assault against Mr. McGraw that goes far beyond the scope of a business dispute. He's weaponizing the legal system out of spite, demonstrating an obsessive need for revenge that raises serious questions about his emotional stability and his fitness as a primary custodial parent. I sat next to Thomas and kept my face blank. Didn't react. Didn't give her anything. Thomas stood. Your Honor, may I present testimony from Dr. Linda Ramirez, the therapist who's been counseling Angelica Anderson through this family trauma? The judge, a gray-haired man named Judge Harrison, who looked like he'd heard every lie ever told, nodded. Dr. Ramirez was in her 40s, calm and professional. She spoke clearly. Angelica feels significantly safer with her father. She's expressed that her mother's affair shattered her ability to trust her mother's judgment. She's told me explicitly that she fears staying overnight at her mother's apartment because she doesn't know who might be there. Patricia tried to object. Your Honor, this is hearsay. It's expert testimony, Judge Harrison said flatly. Continue, Dr. Ramirez. Angelica has made remarkable progress in her sessions, but that progress is directly tied to the stability her father provides. She needs consistency, boundaries, and a parent she can trust. Right now, that parent is her father. Patricia looked like she'd been slapped. Thomas presented the rest of our case methodically. The affair timeline. Claire's continued attempts to contact me despite communication orders. The documented evidence of her inability to respect boundaries. Judge Harrison looked at Claire's attorney with something close to contempt. Ms. Forrester, your client engaged in a 6-month affair while her husband served overseas defending this country. She betrayed not just her marriage vows, but her daughter's stability and security. She has repeatedly violated communication orders, demonstrating she cannot follow basic rules or respect boundaries. He turned to Claire. Mrs. Anderson, I find you unfit for primary custody. Claire started crying, loud, desperate sobs. Mr. Anderson is granted full custody. Mrs. Anderson will receive 1 supervised weekend visit per month. Mr. Anderson retains 70% of all marital assets, the house, the vehicles, the savings accounts. Mrs. Anderson will receive 30%. I sat there feeling nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just cold confirmation that justice still existed. 2 weeks later, I stood in the house that was now legally mine, watching movers pack Claire's remaining belongings into a truck. She sat on the front steps, crying into her hands. Her mother stood beside her, one hand on Claire's shoulder, glaring at me like I was the villain. I didn't care. Claire had made her choices. Now she got to live with them. One of the movers, a young guy with a beard, approached me. That's the last of it, sir. Thank you. Claire looked up at me, mascara running down her face. Michael, please. You need to leave, I said quietly. This isn't your home anymore. She stood, shaking. I made a mistake. No. You made hundreds of mistakes, every day for 6 months, and now you're facing the consequences. Her mother helped her to the car. They drove away. I stood in the empty house, my house, and felt the weight of everything settle around me. Dustin's criminal case was progressing. Federal prosecutors had offered a plea deal, 3 years in prison, full restitution. The business was mine. The house was mine. My daughter was safe. I'd won. 3 months after the divorce finalized, I sat in a federal courtroom watching Dustin stand before the judge. He looked smaller somehow, thinner. His suit hung loose on his frame, and he kept his eyes down like he couldn't bear to look at anyone. The judge, a no-nonsense woman named Judge Marianne Keller, reviewed the plea agreement. Mr. McGraw, you've pleaded guilty to embezzlement of funds from a veteran-owned business with federal contracts. Do you understand the severity of these charges? Yes, Your Honor, Dustin said quietly. You stole from a man who trusted you. A man who was serving his country while you were stealing his money and sleeping with his wife. Judge Keller's voice was ice. You violated every principle of honor and integrity. Dustin said nothing. What could he say? I sentence you to 3 years in federal prison. You will also pay $200,000 in restitution to Mr. Anderson, the stolen amount, plus penalties and interest. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. I watched the marshals lead him away in handcuffs. He looked back once, caught my eye, and I saw everything there. Shame, regret, defeat. I felt nothing but cold satisfaction. Justice had been served. Eleanor McGraw filed for divorce the day after Dustin's sentencing. I heard about it through Vicky, who heard it from Riley Parker. Eleanor had been traveling for work during most of the affair, completely unaware of what her husband was doing. When she learned the full extent of Dustin's crimes and betrayals, she acted swiftly. She took everything, their house, their savings, their vehicles, everything Dustin hadn't already stolen or lost. He had nothing left but prison time and massive debt he'd be paying off for decades. I threw myself into the business. Without Dustin's corner cutting and theft, the company thrived. I brought in new partners, veterans like me who understood integrity, who valued honor over shortcuts. We expanded our government contracts, landed major private security projects, built a reputation for excellence and reliability. Within 18 months, we doubled our revenue. Word spread in the industry about how I'd handled the situation. No violence, no public drama, just decisive legal action and careful rebuilding. People respected that. They wanted to work with someone who handled crises with discipline and strategy. Angelica adjusted better than I'd hoped. Therapy helped. Dr. Ramirez worked with her twice a week, helping her process the anger and hurt. I hate Mom sometimes, Angelica told me one night over dinner. Is that wrong? No, sweetheart. It's honest. Your mom hurt you. You're allowed to be angry. But she's still my mom. She is, and you can love her and be angry at her at the same time. Those feelings don't cancel each other out. She was secure with me, stable. She knew the rules, knew I'd never betray her trust, knew she could count on me. That was enough. My parents moved closer 6 months after the divorce. They sold their retirement condo and bought a house 15 minutes away. Mom helped with Angelica after school when I had late meetings. Dad taught Angelica how to change a tire, how to throw a proper punch, how to stand up for herself. Having them nearby made everything easier. Angelica had family support, stability, people she could trust. I started dating again after several months. Nothing serious at first, just coffee here and there, reminding myself what normal felt like. Then I met Juliet Clarkson at a veteran networking event. She was in her mid-30s, worked in logistics management, understood military culture without needing explanations. We talked for 2 hours about deployment challenges, transition struggles, the weight of coming home to a different world. She didn't push, didn't ask about my divorce or try to fix me, just listened. Our relationship developed slowly. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into weekend hikes. She met Angelica 3 months in, and I watched carefully for any signs of forced connection or manipulation. But Juliet was genuine. She treated Angelica with kindness, asked about soccer and school, never tried to replace Claire or act like a stepmother. Angelica approved. She's different from Mom, she told me. She's stable. That was the perfect word, stable. 8 months after the divorce finalized, I stood in my office overlooking the expanded business. 3 floors now, 40 employees, contracts worth millions. I felt genuinely happy for the first time since before the deployment. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Michael Anderson. Michael, please don't hang up. Claire's voice, shaking, desperate. I almost ended the call. She was supposed to go through Thomas for everything. What do you want, Claire? I need to talk to you. It's an emergency. You're supposed to contact my lawyer. I have cancer. The words stopped me cold. Michael Anderson. Michael, please don't hang up. Claire's voice, shaking, desperate. I pulled the phone away from my ear, finger hovering over the end button. You're not supposed to contact me directly, I said. Everything goes through Thomas. I know, but this is an emergency. I need to talk to you right now. Then call Thomas. That's what the agreement says. Michael, please. I have cancer. My hand stopped. What? Breast cancer. Stage 3. They found it last month during a routine mammogram. Her voice cracked. It's aggressive. I start chemo next week. I said nothing, just stood there in my office, looking out at the city, feeling absolutely nothing. I can't afford the treatment, she continued. The settlement. You left me with almost nothing. My nursing salary barely covers rent and food. My insurance has gaps, co-pays, limits. The treatment plan they're recommending costs more than I make in 6 months. That's not my problem. Michael, please. I know I don't deserve anything from you. I know what I did was unforgivable. But this isn't about me. This is about Angelica. She shouldn't have to watch her mother die because I can't afford treatment. The manipulation was so transparent, it was almost insulting. You should have thought about that before you destroyed our family, I said coldly. I was wrong. I've said that 1,000 times. I was selfish and horrible, and I hurt you and Angelica, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. But please, Michael, I'm begging you, apply for state assistance. Most hospitals have charity care programs. Figure it out. I've tried. The waiting lists are months long, and they need documentation I don't have yet, and the cancer isn't waiting. I start chemo in 9 days, or the doctors say it might be too late. Not my problem. Michael, you made your choices, Claire. Now you live with them, all of them. Please, just think about Angelica. Think about what this will do to her. I hung up. Then I blocked her number. I stood there for maybe 30 seconds, staring at my phone. Was I being too cruel? Then I remembered. Thanksgiving morning, walking into our bedroom, seeing her naked with Dustin in our bed, the bed where we'd made love, where we'd held each other through bad dreams, where we'd planned our future. 6 months of betrayal while I served overseas, 6 months of her reading my emails about how much I missed her, cashing my paychecks, tucking Angelica into bed, and then climbing into that same bed with my best friend. Angelica's tears when I told her the family was broken. No. Claire had made her choices. She'd burned everything to the ground for an affair that meant nothing. Now she got to live in the ashes. I put the call out of my mind. Work kept me busy. We landed 2 new contracts. I took Angelica to a soccer tournament in Virginia. Juliet and I went to dinner, talked about maybe taking a trip together. Life moved forward. 2 weeks later, Angelica came home from her supervised visit with Claire. I heard the front door open, heard her footsteps, and I knew immediately something was wrong. She walked into the kitchen where I was making dinner, and she was crying. Hey, sweetheart. I turned off the stove. What happened? She dropped her backpack and just stood there, tears streaming down her face. Angelica, talk to me. Mom looks awful, she whispered. She's so skinny, Dad. Like, I could see her bones. And her hair. It's falling out in clumps. She tried to hide it with a scarf, but I saw. My chest tightened. She could barely stand up. The apartment was a mess because she doesn't have the energy to clean. There were dishes everywhere, and the trash was overflowing, and she just sat on the couch the whole time because moving around makes her throw up. Did she say anything to you about? She didn't ask me to talk to you, if that's what you mean. Angelica wiped her eyes. She didn't say anything about money or treatment. She just tried to pretend everything was fine. But it's not fine, Dad. She's dying. She looked at me with those eyes, her mother's eyes, and I saw the fear. We have to help her, Angelica said. I know what she did was terrible. I know she hurt you and destroyed our family. I'm still angry at her. But she's my mom, and I can't just watch her die. I sat down at the kitchen table. Angelica sat across from me. My 13-year-old daughter was carrying the weight of watching her mother waste away. And I'd put her in this position. The perfect revenge, watching Claire suffer, watching her lose everything, watching her face consequences for every choice she'd made. But Angelica was suffering too, and that wasn't part of the plan. The next evening, I sat down with Angelica at the kitchen table. She'd been quiet all day, waiting for me to say something. Tell me everything you saw yesterday, I said. Don't leave anything out. She took a breath. Mom's lost so much weight. Her clothes don't fit anymore. They just hang off her. Her face is all sunken in, and her skin looks gray, like she's already dying. I kept my expression neutral, listening. She can't keep food down. She tried to eat some soup while I was there, and she had to run to the bathroom. I could hear her throwing up. When she came back, she tried to pretend everything was fine, but her hands were shaking. What about the apartment? It's bad, Dad. Really bad. Dishes piled up in the sink, garbage overflowing, laundry everywhere. She doesn't have the energy to clean. She spent most of the visit just sitting on the couch, trying not to move too much because moving makes her nauseous. Angelica's voice cracked, but the worst part was her eyes. Mom's always been so, I don't know, confident? Even when she was wrong about stuff, she acted like she had it under control. But yesterday she looked terrified. I've never seen her scared like that. She wiped at her eyes. I know it's not fair to ask you for help. I know what she did to you, to us. But she's still my mom, and I don't want to watch her die. I looked at my daughter, 13 years old, carrying a burden no kid should ever have to carry. She loved her mother. Despite everything Claire had done, despite the betrayal and the lies and the destruction, Angelica loved her, and she was watching that mother waste away. Listen to me, I said. What your mother did was unforgivable. She betrayed me, she betrayed our family, and she hurt you in ways that'll take years to heal, maybe longer. I'm still angry about that. I'll probably always be angry about that. I know, but you're right. I reached across and took her hand. She's your mother, and you love her, and I won't make you watch her die when I have the means to help. I won't do that to you. Relief flooded her face. Dad, I'm not doing this for Claire, I said firmly. I'm doing this for you, and because the man I want to be, the father I want you to see, doesn't let people die out of revenge, no matter what they've done. You understand? Yes. There are conditions, I continued. I pay for treatment directly. She doesn't see a dime of cash. I'm not financing her life, just her survival. And this doesn't change the custody arrangement, the restraining orders, or anything else. She signed those agreements, and they stand. Are we clear? Yes. Thank you, Dad. Thank you so much. The next morning I called Thomas. I need you to draft an agreement. Comprehensive, airtight, no loopholes. What kind of agreement? I'll pay for Claire's cancer treatment, all of it. Doctors, hospitals, medications, whatever she needs to survive. But in exchange, she signs away any future claims. No alimony modifications, no custody changes, no demands of any kind. This is charity, not an obligation. Thomas was quiet for a moment. Michael, are you sure about this? No. But my daughter is, and that's enough. He drafted it that afternoon. 10 pages of legal language that boiled down to one thing. I'd save Claire's life, but she'd never ask me for anything else again. Claire signed it the same day Thomas sent it over. No negotiation, no pushback, just her signature and a note that said, "Thank you." I didn't respond. I called the hospital billing department and set up direct payment. Told them to give Claire access to the best oncologists they had, cover all her medications, fund whatever support services she needed. Everything went through the billing office or through Thomas. I never spoke to Claire, not once. Didn't visit, didn't call, didn't check in personally. I was paying for her life, but I wasn't back in it. That night, Angelica hugged me. You're a good person, Dad, she said, even when people don't deserve it. I'm not doing it to be good, I told her. I'm doing it because I love you more than I hate her. She held on tighter, and I realized that maybe, just maybe, I could live with that. 6 months after I started paying for Claire's treatment, the hospital called. Mr. Anderson, this is Dr. Patricia Hollis from Oncology. I wanted to let you know that Claire's latest scans came back clean. The cancer's in full remission. I felt nothing. No relief, no satisfaction, just acknowledgement. Good. Thank you for letting me know. She's been incredibly fortunate. The treatment protocol was aggressive, but it worked. She'll need regular monitoring, of course, but the prognosis is excellent. Bill me for the follow-up care through the usual channels. Of course. And Mr. Anderson? What you did for her? Not many people would have. I did it for my daughter. Nothing more. I hung up. 2 days later, Thomas forwarded me a letter. Handwritten, 3 pages on cream-colored paper. Michael, I don't have the right to write to you, but I need to say this. You saved my life. I didn't deserve your mercy. I didn't deserve your compassion. After what I did, after how I destroyed our family, you had every reason to let me die. But you didn't. I understand our relationship is over. I understand I'll never get back what I threw away. I just want you to know that I'll spend the rest of my life trying to be better. For Angelica. She deserves a mother who's worth loving, and I'm going to do everything I can to become that person. Thank you. Claire, I read it once. Filed it in a folder with all the other divorce documentation. Didn't respond. The agreement stood. No contact, no changes, No future claims. 3 weeks later, I heard through a guy who knew a guy that Dustin had been released. Good behavior. 18 months served out of 3 years. He was living with his mother now, working construction for $12 an hour, trying to rebuild from nothing. His reputation in the security industry? Destroyed. No one would touch him with a 10-foot pole after the embezzlement conviction. Eleanor had taken everything he hadn't already stolen or lost, and he owed me restitution, $200,000 plus interest, that he'd be paying off until he was 70. Good. I stopped for gas one Tuesday afternoon, and there he was, Dustin McGraw, at the pump across from mine. He looked old. Not just older, old. Like the last 18 months had aged him a decade. His shoulders were hunched, his face was lined, and his hands were rough from manual labor. We made eye contact. I saw everything in that moment. Shame, regret, complete defeat. He opened his mouth, started to lift his hand like he might wave, might try to speak. I shook my head, just once. No. Then I turned away and went back to pumping my gas. Didn't look at him again, didn't acknowledge him. He didn't deserve words, didn't deserve closure, didn't deserve anything from me. He got to live with what he'd done. Forever. I finished filling my tank, got in my truck, and drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw him still standing there, frozen, staring after me. 1 year after Claire's remission, Juliet and I got married. Small ceremony, close friends, family, Angelica as maid of honor. My parents sat in the front row, beaming. Juliet's sister flew in from Seattle. Angelica wore a lavender dress she'd picked out herself, and she was radiant, happy in a way I hadn't seen since before the deployment. She'd grown close to Juliet over the past year, appreciated having someone who treated her with genuine respect, who didn't try to replace Claire but just showed her what healthy relationships looked like. "I'm so glad you found her, Dad," Angelica whispered to me before the ceremony. "You deserve to be happy." "So do you, sweetheart." "I am, finally." Claire showed up to Angelica's 8th grade graduation. Stood in the back of the auditorium, didn't approach us, didn't try to talk, just watched our daughter walk across the stage and receive her diploma. I saw her from a distance. She looked healthy now, hair grown back, weight restored, color in her face. But there was something haunted in her expression, like she was watching a life she used to have, a family she used to belong to, and she understood with perfect clarity that it was gone. She'd never get it back. She left before the reception, followed the rules, respected the boundaries. 2 years after the divorce, I stood in the house Juliet and I built together. Bigger than the old house, better in every way, open floor plan, huge windows overlooking the backyard, a pool where Angelica and her friends were splashing and laughing. Juliet slipped her arm around my waist. "You okay?" "Yeah." I pulled her closer. "I really am." And it was true. I'd beaten them, rebuilt everything, found genuine happiness. This was what justice looked like. I cracked eggs into the skillet, listening to the sizzle and pop of butter melting underneath them. Behind me, Angelica was setting the table, forks on the left, knives on the right, just like my mother had taught her. "Dad, did you see the email from Coach Martinez?" she called out. "Not yet." "Good news?" "She thinks I should try out for the state select team." I glanced over my shoulder at her. 15 now, taller, stronger, more confident than the scared 13-year-old who'd watched her world fall apart. "You should. You're good enough." She grinned. That smile. God, it reminded me of my mother's smile. Pure and genuine. Juliet walked into the kitchen, one hand resting on the small bump of her belly, phone in the other. "Michael, the Singapore contract came through. They want to move forward with the full security package. That's the 3rd international deal this quarter. You've built something real." She kissed my cheek. "Something honest." And that was the thing, wasn't it? I'd built this business the right way. Hired veterans who needed second chances, guys who understood honor and loyalty because they'd lived it. Created a culture where integrity wasn't just a buzzword on a mission statement, but the actual foundation of every decision. We were one of the top security consulting firms on the East Coast now. Everyone knew it, and everyone knew why, because we didn't cut corners, didn't cheat, didn't betray the people who trusted us. Everything Dustin had lacked. I plated the eggs and brought them to the table. Sat down with my family, my real family. 2 years since that Thanksgiving morning. 2 years since I'd walked into my bedroom and seen my entire life explode. And look where I was now. Angelica split holidays between households. Thanksgiving here with Juliet and me, Christmas morning with Claire under supervision. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. She was thriving. Straight A's, varsity soccer, college recruiters already sniffing around even though she was only a sophomore. She'd survived trauma that would have broken some kids, and she'd come through it stronger. Juliet was 6 months pregnant with our son, Gabriel, named after my father, who'd been there every step of this journey. Dad and Mom had moved closer, helped with Angelica, provided the kind of rock-solid support that reminded me what real family looked like. I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not because I'd forgiven anyone. I hadn't. Claire and Dustin had committed unforgivable betrayals, and I'd never forget what they'd done. But I'd beaten them, thoroughly, completely, and I'd rebuilt something better than what they'd destroyed. Claire was living in a one-bedroom apartment on the east side now, working double shifts at the hospital to make rent. She was healthy, thanks to the treatment I'd paid for, but she was alone. Her friends had distanced themselves when they learned what she'd done. Her sister barely spoke to her anymore. Her parents maintained cordial phone calls but never visited. She saw Angelica twice a month under supervision, and every single visit reminded her of everything she'd lost. That wasn't cruelty. That was consequences. Dustin had tried starting some handyman business, fixing toilets, patching drywall, the kind of work that didn't require professional licenses. But the felony conviction made even that difficult. Last I heard, he was working construction for a crew that didn't ask too many questions, lived with his mother in her house, paid restitution out of every paycheck, would be paying it until he was 70. The guys he worked with didn't know who he used to be, didn't know he'd once co-owned a successful business, had a wife, had a future. They just knew him as the quiet guy who showed up on time and never talked about his past. Neither of them would ever recover what they'd had, and that was justice. "Dad?" Angelica's voice pulled me back. "You okay?" "Yeah," I smiled at her, just thinking about how far we've come. My phone buzzed. Email notification. I glanced at it, and my heart jumped. Duke University Athletics Department. I opened it, read the first line, read it again to make sure I wasn't misunderstanding. "Dear Angelica Anderson, we are pleased to offer you a full athletic scholarship." "Angelica," my voice caught. "Come here." She walked over, curious. I handed her my phone, watched her face as she read, watched her eyes go wide, watched her hand fly to her mouth. "Dad, is this full ride, soccer scholarship, your top choice?" She started crying, happy tears, threw her arms around my neck. I held her tight. My daughter, my strong, brilliant, ethical daughter who'd survived hell and come out the other side better for it. "I'm so proud of you," I whispered. "Not just for this, for who you've become. Despite everything you went through, you're kind, you're honest, you're strong. You're everything I could have hoped for." She pulled back, wiping her eyes. "I learned from you, Dad. You showed me how to fight back when life knocks you down, how to build something better." Juliet joined the hug, and we stood there in our kitchen, in our house, in our life, and I felt complete. This was what victory looked like. Not revenge, not cruelty, justice. People ask me sometimes if I regret it, if I think I went too far, if I was too harsh, too unforgiving. They tell me everyone makes mistakes, that people deserve second chances, that holding grudges only hurts yourself. And you know what? They're right. About normal mistakes, about genuine errors in judgment that come from confusion or weakness or temporary lapses, about the kind of screw-ups that happen when people are overwhelmed or scared or just not thinking clearly. But that's not what this was. Claire and Dustin's betrayal wasn't a mistake. It was calculated. 6 months of conscious choices, every single day deciding to lie to me while I was overseas defending this country. That's not an error in judgment. That's a character flaw so deep it defines who they truly are. Claire lives in a one-bedroom apartment on the east side now, works extra shifts to make rent, picks up overtime whenever she can. She's healthy. The treatment I paid for saved her life. But she's alone. Her friends distanced themselves when they learned what she'd done. You should have seen how fast Sarah Mitchell and the other book club women stopped returning her calls. Her sister maintains polite conversation at family gatherings, but never visits. Her parents call once a month, ask how she's doing, and get off the phone as quickly as possible. She sees Angelica twice a month under supervision, and every single visit reminds her of everything she destroyed. She gets 2 weekends out of 30 days to remember what it felt like to be a mother, to be part of a family, to have something worth protecting. And she threw it all away for 6 months with my best friend. Dustin tried starting a handyman business after he got out. Small jobs, fixing things around people's houses. But the felony conviction made licensing impossible. Turns out most homeowners don't want convicted embezzlers in their homes unsupervised. Now he works construction, day labor mostly. Shows up at 6 a.m., swings a hammer until dark, collects his paycheck minus the court-ordered restitution that comes out automatically. Lives with his mother in her little house off Route 9. The guys he works with don't know who he used to be. Don't know he co-owned a successful business, had a wife, had a future. They just know him as the quiet guy who keeps his head down and never talks about his past. Neither of them will ever recover what they had. And that's not cruelty. That's consequences. That's justice. Look at my life now. Angelica just got accepted to Duke on a full soccer scholarship. My daughter, who survived her family being torn apart, who went to therapy and did the work and came out stronger, is heading to one of the best schools in the country. Juliet's 6 months pregnant with our son Gabriel. We're building a nursery this weekend, and Angelica's already planning what kind of big sister she wants to be. The business just secured an 8-figure government contract, 5 years guaranteed, with options for renewal. I built that company from the ground up after Dustin tried to destroy it, and now it's more successful than he ever could have imagined. I sleep well at night. I look at my life and feel genuine pride in what I built from the ashes of betrayal. And when Angelica hugs me and tells me I'm her hero, I know I did everything right. Because I refuse to be a victim. I refuse to let them destroy me. I fought back with every legal, ethical weapon at my disposal. And I won. That's not revenge. That's justice. And it tastes sweeter than any Thanksgiving dinner ever could. I stood on the back porch, Juliet's hand warm in mine, watching Angelica laugh with her friends in the yard. The sun was setting, painting everything golden. Juliet squeezed my hand. "You okay?" "Yeah." I looked at her, at the life we'd built, at everything I'd protected. "I'm perfect." She smiled, rested her head on my shoulder, and I felt complete peace. Because I'd protected what mattered most, and the people who'd betrayed me, they paid exactly what they owed. Not a penny more, not a penny less. I believe stories such as this find us for a reason. If this one touches you, please subscribe. I share a new one every day. In the meantime, there are 2 stories on the screen that are even better.